The avalanche effect is slamming everybody down to the financial valley. Everybody? No. A tiny little group of brave people called the value investors stand their ground and prepare to fight back. Hi, my name is Till and this is the channel where you learn how to invest intelligently and how you build up a fortune as a private person. When you're new here, click the subscribe button and don't forget to ring the little bell so that you're immediately informed about new videos. Maybe you watched the video about the trickle-down effect already. Then you know by now that there are effects in crisis situations that influence the markets heavily. Another effect that has a huge impact in situations like this is the so-called avalanche effect. This video will show you what exactly that is and how it functions, why nearly nobody can elude from its forces, and what you can do to actually even benefit from it. So let's start. What is the avalanche effect and how does it work? The avalanche effect is often happening when price bubbles burst. This is when market prices are extremely exaggerated and exceed the inner values of the companies significantly. This was happening, for example, in the year 2000, when the first internet bubble burst. The prices of the companies had become extremely high and all of a sudden Mr. Market remembered again that price follows value and the prices started to fall. And very much like a snow avalanche in the mountains, it wasn't possible to stop it anymore once it started to go down. The avalanche tumbled down to the valley and dragged everybody with it. The difference to an avalanche in the mountains is that you see and know in the mountains where the valley is and where the avalanche will stop. The financial avalanche isn't stopping when the prices reach a price level that is fair and around the inner values of the companies. It is continuing further until at some really hardly predictable level it loses its force. Fear doesn't only cause us to do weird and irrational things. There is an internal programming in us that is letting most of us run away in case of danger. But this isn't the only internal programming that is working here. We are all also social beings, and in case we don't know exactly what's going on, we tend to do what the other people are doing. This is the so-called herd behavior. This herd behavior even works when we are pretty sure that the herd is not running in the right direction. The social forces are just too strong in these situations to stop the individual and behave differently than the herd does. In case of the financial avalanche, the biggest fear is of course the fear to lose a lot of money. And more market participants see the avalanche, and as soon as they realize what it is, they sell their stocks in fear, and by that they start to participate in the avalanche, and once they do that, they intensify it. Price bubbles, by the way, aren't the only trigger for avalanche effects. Last year in 2020, the financial avalanche was triggered by the Corona crisis. Pretty much any big crisis can cause an avalanche effect, especially when they happen on the three levels: company, industry and economy, the trickle-down effect. What's necessary to start it is the belief of the herd that they are going to lose a lot of money. How big is the effect? In the year 2000, the avalanche went down much further than in the year 2020. But it took some time until most of the market participants actually realized that their long-nourished stocks became a huge bubble. By the way, when people start to say in a bull market, "This time it's different," you should become really cautious. In 2020, the avalanche didn't go down that far. The prices were just not that huge and inflated like in 2000. But the cause of the avalanche, the corona effect, was instantly visible and clear to everybody, and also the real-life effects with its corresponding shutdowns in the economies of the world. This caused the avalanche to go down much quicker than in the year 2000. So, in a nutshell, the size of the avalanche effect can be different each time. It depends on the situation and the root cause. Its pace depends very much on how quickly the markets realize the circumstances and that there actually is an avalanche. What can you do to benefit from it? In the world of the stock investors, there is a saying: don't catch a falling knife. You probably get the picture it paints. It says that you shouldn't buy as long as the prices are going down. This picture is as widespread as it is completely stupid. If everybody would stop buying, if a price deteriorates, we would be in a permanent crisis mode. And even if this saying would just be applied to longer market contractions, it would mean that a bear market wouldn't stop before the prices for the companies are at zero. This is obviously not happening. At some point, the fall of the stock prices stops. Why is that the case? Why is the avalanche losing at some point its force? To answer these questions, you have to imagine what is actually happening at the markets. Every time when there is a selling transaction and somebody sells a stock, there is somebody else who is buying it. So every time there is somebody who believes that this is a good price to buy this stock. When the avalanche begins, there are suddenly way more investors who want to sell than who want to buy. If you want to sell a stock at this time, you will have to lower your price to get rid of it. At some point on the way down, the prices became just so cheap that the market participants who were standing at the sidelines and waited for good things to happen and cheap prices to come just can't wait any longer. The prices became so cheap and so much lower than the intrinsic values that the investors who waited for a long time patiently for their opportunities just can't hold it any longer. They go shopping and start to load up their trucks. What does it mean for you? By my experience, it is impossible to predict when this level is achieved exactly. This is just depending too much on the aggregated decisions of many investors. But what you can do is what you as a value investor usually do: to wait for the prices of specific great companies that are on your watch list and that you analyze deeply to fall to a level where your analysis and your calculations tell you that it is ridiculously low priced. And then you start to load up your truck. The benefit of these situations is that there are lots of opportunities offered, with prices of stocks that often fall down to levels that are just amazingly cheap. Of course, the prices can fall even further. You can't influence that the completely irrational markets behave even more irrational and become even more panic-stricken. Even in these kind of situations, always remember: price follows value. When you become unsure if you really bought at the right prices, don't panic. It doesn't matter if there are other investors who maybe bought at even cheaper prices. Double check your analysis. Check if the facts and figures in your reasoning are still intact. And if they are, you should be fine in the long run. This became a tiny bit longer than I expected, but the effect is just too important to cover it on the fly. I hope you liked it anyway, and I'm really looking forward to your comments, questions and opinions. As usual, drop them in the comment section below the video. When you want to know more about how to build up a fortune, click the subscribe button, don't forget to ring the little bell and leave a thumbs up. And of course, you can also just browse through the other videos on my channel. I wish you a lot of success with your investing activities and see you in the next video.